We need that guy in the hat.
Yeah, he's for everybody who doesn't know, John always wears a hat. So great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to get started if that's squared away.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing is so exciting about this presentation is that we're dealing with the leading killer of women and men in Western civilization, coronary artery heart disease. And the truth be known, coronary artery heart disease is nothing more than a toothless paper tiger that need never, ever exist. And if it does exist, it need never, ever progress. Now, how can I back that up? Well, let's go forward. We know, for instance, that there are multiple cultures on the planet Earth where 100 years ago, cardiovascular disease was virtually non-existent. Rural China, the Papua Highlands, Central Africa, these countries were spared of this disease. Why? Because they were eating whole food, plant-based nutrition. But sadly, Western civilization has never taken advantage of that. We treat patients with heart disease with drugs, with stents, with bypass surgery, none of which has one single solitary thing whatsoever to do with the causation of the illness. Now, here's the oldest slide in my presentation. And I took that in 1968 when I was leaving Vietnam, having spent a year there as a combat surgeon. I showed this slide because it reminds me to share with the audience that when we autopsy our GIs who died in combat in Korea, at that time, 80% of those young, average 20-year-olds, 80% already had gross evidence of coronary artery disease you could see without a microscope. Not enough for their cardiac events yet, but here at that young age already was the foundation of that disease. That study was then repeated again 45 years later, this time looking at young women and men between the ages of 17 and 34 who have died of accidents, homicides, and suicides. Now, early coronary artery disease is ubiquitous, everybody. Nobody seems to be spared. So think of it this way. Any of you in the audience who are over 17, who have been eating the typical Western diet, already have the foundation for coronary artery heart disease. All right. Now, we really had a chance to get it right in World War II when the Axis powers of Germany overran the Low Countries of Holland and Belgium, and they occupied Denmark and Norway characteristically. The Germans took away their livestock, their cattle, their sheep, their goats, their pigs, their chickens, their turkeys. They took them away for their troops. So largely, these Western European nations were during this time period thriving on whole food, plant-based nutrition. And it was rather fascinating to look at the article by Doctors Strom and Janssen in Britain's leading medical journal, The Lancet. In 1951, they looked at the deaths in Norway from heart attack and stroke during this time period. So let's do this. If we focus together on the left-hand side of this slide, we will see that in Norway in 1927, deaths from heart attack and stroke were going up. 1930, going up. 1935, going up. 1939, in comes the Germans. Heart disease deaths going down. Who knew these Germans were these great public health educators? But look what happened in 1945. With the death of Adolf Hitler and the cessation of hostilities in the European theater, back come the strokes, back come the heart attacks, back comes the meat, and back comes the dairy. Interesting, but sadly, we just did not get it. Now, here, you're going to probably say it. That slide on the right that artery is thoroughly diseased. You are correct. However, you're also probably saying when that small opening closes off, there'll be a heart attack. Well, interestingly enough, only about 10% of heart attacks occur with lesions like this. Why? Because this is a very slow-growing lesion, and as the downstream heart muscle begins to perceive that it is not receiving its due supply of oxygen and nutrients, it does something rather fascinating. It starts to build its own bypass. By that, I mean, if you do an angiogram and inject dye or contrast into this artery, you will see, especially if the artery is now fully blocked, these streaming little collaterals that go around this blockage and literally feeding the downstream heart muscle. And although that feeding of heart muscle will never be equivalent to normal through those small collaterals, it is enough to often protect the patient from having a heart attack when that small opening closes. Well, let's concentrate on the left. Even though in the back, those of you in the back of the room, that is a normal artery. And I want you to focus on that tiny little dark line, one little cell layer thick, that lines the innermost part of the artery called the endothelium, because we're going to have a fair amount more to talk about the endothelium in this presentation. First thing that happens when you really start eating this Western diet, things begin to get sticky in the cellular components. Your platelets get sticky. Your endothelial cell gets sticky. Your cholesterol gets sticky. Now I want to show you a slide by Peter Libby from Harvard. And the blue area is where the blood is flowing. And what separates the blue area from the artery wall is that single layer of endothelial cells we just talked about, which are purple on this slide. Once again, let's go together. In the left upper portion, you will see those orange molecule those orange LD cholesterol molecules, LDL, that's your bad cholesterol. And what happens is as we eat these foods that give us all these inflammatory free radicals, the LDL cholesterol migrates up to the artery wall and finds a crack, a fissure, or an opening, and will find its ability to wiggle through into the subendothelial space, where Peter Libby from Harvard no longer paints it orange, but now yellow to indicate that it is a small, hard, dense, oxidized LDL particle. Now, your subendothelial space does not like this and calls upon the SWAT team, our macrophages, those are the blue ones coming through from the flowing blood across, again, through a crack, a fissure, an opening, into the subendothelial space, in this case, going from left to right, behaving like Pac-Man, gobbling up all those small, hard, dense, oxidized LDL particles. Now, when that macrophage gets all the way over to the right here, and it's absolutely chock full of these molecules, we now do in medicine what we do so often. We change the name. It's now called the foam cell. And the foam cell is truly the Darth Vader of this sequence of events, because the foam cell elaborates these nasty metalloproteinases, stromelicin, elastase, collagenase, myeloperoxidase. What do they do that's so bad? What they do is they progressively erode the cap over the plaque. If you look here at the figure on the left, you will see at the top of the cap, where it's very thin, the sheer force of blood racing over that thinned out cap tears it. So now you have this seminal moment of a ruptured plaque. A plaque with a cap has ruptured. Now we have the extravasation, or the oozing out of plaque content into the flowing blood, which initiates our clotting factors like platelets. And now, as we see in the middle figure, the area that had a rupture of the cap over the plaque, a clot is forming. And the clot is in and of itself self-propagating. So suddenly we go in a matter of minutes over to the figure on the right, and you can see the clot now is completely blocking 100% that artery. All the downstream heart muscle fed by this vessel is now suddenly deprived of oxygen and nutrients, and that accounts for 90% of heart attacks. Now, if I do my job correctly today, those of you in the audience and maybe your friends and relatives, we're going to learn how we can make yourselves heart attack proof. How are you going to do that? We're going to do that by changing your biochemistry. We're going to change your biochemistry by changing how you're eating. And when you start eating whole food, plant-based nutrition, that entire cascade of events that I just described for you, where we have the LDL cholesterol migrating into the subendothelial space, the appearance of the macrophage from the SWAT team, the development of the foam cell, and from the foam cell, metalloproteinases, and thinning out of the cap. When you eat this way, the cap over your plaque is going to be strengthened. And if you strengthen the cap over your plaque, it cannot rupture. And if it cannot rupture, you have made yourself heart attack proof. How exciting is that? How long does it take? We think probably about 3 weeks, maybe less. Now here, you can forget the x-ray, but I want you to concentrate on what the artist has drawn here with an artery that is half filled with plaque and half open. And you can see in the open segment, those nice thin single layer cells that are lining the opening of the artery. Now, those are the endothelial cells we spoke about briefly. And we used to think of the endothelial cells as these cute little red bricks that were lining our wonderful pipes. But that all changed in 1980. In 1980, Dr. Furchtgott, working in his laboratory in Brooklyn, New York, was taking the largest aorta from the rodent, the aorta, and he would make this sort of elliptical spiral staircase cut on it right through the endothelium. Then he would immerse it in a bath of saline and it would constrict. But one day he decided no cut. He took the aorta, no injury to the endothelium, immersed it, and it dilated. He did it again with another one. It dilated. Now suddenly, globally, the race was on. What was the EDRF that Dr. Furchtgott had discovered? The endothelial derived relaxation factor. Thank heavens that term was with us